Hijikata had risked his life to take down Utsunomiya Castle. In the end, it didn't matter. The castle Hijikata risked his life to take was retaken by the Imperial Army 4 days later with nearly 20,000 men from the Satsuma, Choshu, Ogaki, and Tottori domains. Longtime allies of the shogunate who had served alongside them at the Battle of Toba-Fushimi before defecting at the last minute and spearheading the Imperial attack force. Thanks. And Tottori? One of the traitorous domains who defected to the Satsuma Choshu side during the Battle of Fushimi. Following the battle, they marched alongside Imperial troops to capture Edo. After the battle, Otori and the rest of his soldiers set out for Aizu. Hijikata had miraculously survived his ordeal, but he was by no means recovered. He drifted in and out of consciousness for days, hovering at death's door. He was eventually sent away from the front to Nikko so he could recover. This boy having to rest? My goodness. Since we'd arrived in Nikko, I'd busied myself doing my best to take care of him. As a Fury, most normal medication had little to no effect on him. Most of my nursing therefore consisted of fervently hoping that his natural strength and tenacity would bring him through. Fortunately, my prayers seemed to pay off, and in time his wounds began to heal. Although those made by Cosmo's Demon Slayer did not do so easily or quickly. I found myself thinking about the Battle of Utsunomiya. After watching Hijikata in battle, the same soldiers who were too frightened to fight just minutes before ran to cross swords with the enemy. Afterward, they had told him that it was an honor to fight alongside the Shinsengumi, for they were true samurai. Hijikata, you are the core of the Shinsengumi. Without you, there is no Shinsengumi. The Shinsengumi needs you. So please, you can't die. Please. Several days later... Did he wake up? Is he thirsty again? Questions. I walked into Hijikata's room to change his bandages and was brought up short by what I saw. Hijikata! What are you doing? I need to start writing. Oh man, he looks so different with the short hair. Look how bandaged our poor boy is. He recovered enough to move and speak without pain, but he was still confined to his bed. Or at least he was supposed to be. Good grief, did I really get 2 patients back to back who are just like, I'm not gonna be in bed? You can't do that! When I said you were healthy enough to get up, I didn't mean you were healthy enough to work. It'll only take a minute. I'm going back to bed as soon as I finish this. You nearly died! You need to rest! Died? Me? Ha! That was nothing. Barely a scratch. Barely a scratch? Do you know how long I've been taking care of you? She just continues to berate him like an angry wife, and he's like, I'm just gonna pretend you're not there. He continued to write, not even bothering to look up. Gah, fine, fine. I'd hoped for a little more contrition. However, it seemed like I needed to take what I could get. Aww. Now that's love right there. I love the look on his face. That's great. Well, at least let me put this on you. You're going to catch a chill. As I spoke, I draped his old jacket across his shoulders. I'm sure even if I said I don't want it, you wouldn't listen to me. I'm glad to see you understand how this works. Now, soon as that's done, it's straight back to bed for you. And don't even think about working behind my back. I've got my eye on you. At last, Hijikata turned and looked at me, his face quirked in a small, bitter smile. All right, fine. Sorry for all the trouble. He was more polite than I'd expected. Huh? Had I heard wrong? I stared back at him intently. Maybe you aren't well enough to be sitting up. Guess I should be thanking you in Shimada, huh? Well, I appreciate what you did. Thanks. Hichikata's thanks was rarely unaccompanied by cynicism, sarcasm, or outright derision, but this... What had come over him? He was strangely genuine. Something wrong? What? Did I say something funny? Oh! No. It's not that. It was more that I'd never seen Hichikata act so... nice? Later that night. Yes? Well, hello, everybody.
So the commander's really back on his feet?
I also heard he'd improved, so I thought I'd stop by and pay him a visit.
Good evening, Otori, Shimada. Hichikata is over here. Before I could even finish, Shimada dashed past me to Hichikata's side. Okay. I'm like, if Hichikata was running, I'm gonna be mad at him.
I'm so glad you're all right, sir. For a while there, I really didn't know what was going to happen.
Shimada's eyes began to tear up, and he blinked rapidly to clear them. Aw. Come on, don't give me that. You really think I'd die so easy?
You're right. You'll never die, no matter what happens.
He rubbed his hand across his face awkwardly, trying to brush away the tears that refused to stop forming.
Hichikata, I'm going to be honest with you. You fought like a demon back in Utsunomiya. I'll give you that. Morale is through the roof. The whole army won't stop talking about you. But your actions were dangerous and idiotic. You are a commanding officer, not a soldier. You don't belong on the front line.
Otori, he's only just recovered. Don't you think you're being a little harsh?
Oh no, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. I won't let this slide. Listen to me, Hichikata. Westernizing our troops isn't just about giving them guns and new clothes. We have to change how we think about war. We have to learn new tactics. The commander charging at the front of the army does not show that we are improving our strategy. If the soldiers are the hands and feet, then the commanding officer is the head. Without a head, the body is a useless mess. The war will be lost.
Hichikata's eyes went wide. Otori continued, oblivious, but I knew what Hichikata was thinking. Those words were exactly from... Memories. Yamazaki. That's right, he basically gave him the same speech, didn't he? I'm glad we got Yamazaki in this route, somehow, even if it's just a flashback. Ugh.
What are you doing, Commander? You are the mind of the Shinsengumi. Where are your arms and legs? Why are you running off to face the enemy alone? If you lose an arm or a leg, you can always replace it. But if you lose the head, you lose everything.
The day Hijikata had become a fury, Yamazaki said very nearly the same words to him. Huh. Almost feels like Yamazaki's come back to yell at me, huh? His words were to himself, and there was a faraway look in his eyes. Otori frowned in a confused manner. Pardon?
Hey, Hijikata! What's so funny? This is serious! Don't you understand how worried I was about you? Hell, how worried the whole army was about you?
For a few moments, he simply stared at Otori. Normally, he would have fired back with sarcasm, or perhaps outright insults if he was in a bad enough mood. But this?
Say whatever you want. It won't change my mind.
You're right, Otori. Sorry for worrying you. He followed his surprisingly genuine apology with a similarly surprising bow. He's really not well.
What?
Otori had clearly prepared himself for a variety of reactions from Hijikata, but this had apparently not been one of them. For several moments, he simply stood there, too flabbergasted to speak. My apologies to you too, Shimada. I hear you had to carry me all the way here.
Oh, no, it was nothing. Anything for you, sir.
Shimada seemed just as confused as Otori by Hijikata's sudden change. I didn't understand it either, but there was no denying that something was starting to change within Hijikata. Nice. Nice. Good. Good to see. Give me that slow fade away. That's good. I'm glad to see a little of the recklessness calming down. Even if it was just for that scene. But I feel like we've entered a turning point, which is good. I think it's good to see. Tea shop? I forgot about my tea shop dates. The summer bloomed from the buds of spring. The battle between the waning fragments of the old shogunate and the imperial army was moved to Aizu. Rumors about the intense fighting seemed to float in and out of our ears, and I grew uneasy thinking about the loss of lives on each side. Although he hadn't healed completely, Hijikata decided to leave Nico as soon as he was well enough to march. The trip was long on foot, but without any problems. Eventually, we arrived at Shirakawa Castle, one of the main rally points for our troops. The fortress at the center of the Shirakawa domain. Over 3 months of intense warring occurred here between the Imperial Army and the Shogunate during the Boshin War. At last, we had caught up with the main body of the Shinsengumi. Alright, and before we get into that, it's a new chapter, I just remembered, so... Middle corruption, 50% blooming. I'll take those odds. Saito was there to greet us the moment we arrived at the castle. Heyo.
Commander Hijikata, I'm grateful to see you alive. Glad to see you're alright too. I hear you've been doing well.
Although Saito looked relieved to have been reunited with Hijikata, Saito frowned and rubbed his hand at his forehead. Perhaps he was fatigued from the battles occurring one after the other. Aw.
Nomura, you're alive! Oh, I'm so relieved, my baby boy. Phew.
Soma and Nomura, nice to see you're still around. Was getting worried about you two.
Hijikata voiced appreciation towards the two, but both Soma and Nomura had glum expressions. It was Nomura, actually, who began to shake before breaking down into tears.
Commander, please forgive me!
He bowed prostrate, his voice quivering violently.
You entrusted me with chief safety, but I wasn't strong enough. I couldn't protect him.
Although we had heard what Nomura said, we couldn't get ourselves to grasp the meaning of his words. For him to be this distraught over being unable to protect Kondou must mean... Eventually, Saito continued after Nomura seemed inconsolable, and he took up where Nomura left off.
We have been told that at the end of April, Chief Kondou was beheaded at the Itabashi execution site.
The first inn established in Nakasendo. Imperial troops had camped here to monitor all citizens passing through the nearby Sekisho. Beheaded. I swallowed. Oh no! No! This is not a picture that is required! Please! No! Why would you do this? Don't let this... I don't want this to be my last memory of Kondou. Gosh darn it. Oh no. The kind-hearted Kondou. He hadn't even been given the chance to retain his honor and take his own life. He'd simply been beheaded, like a common criminal. Such an act would have been pure humiliation for Kondou. Perhaps Hijikata had expected that.
Didn't even let him kill himself.
His voice was controlled and unsurprised, but within his eyes I could see a bottomless, yawning despair.
It is my fault that I wasn't able to protect the chief. Please, Commander, I deserve to be beheaded. I as well. I begged you to let me fight for the chief's freedom, but I wasn't successful. I'm a failure.
You idiots!
Look around you! There's no goddamn way we have a single soldier left to spare around here! If you're so prepared for death, then don't give me your cheap words. Prove yourselves on the battlefield!
The two fell silent. Both of them let Hijikata's words sink deeply into their minds, and eventually...
Yes, sir.
You could hear the guilt drip from their voices. There's nothing you two could have done. Later that night, Heisuke and Sanan came to visit Hijikata. How you guys doing? As members of the Fury Corps, they had been resting when we arrived in the afternoon.
Your arrival has the castle in something of an uproar. It woke me somewhat earlier than usual.
I heard you got hurt pretty bad, Hijikata. Didn't think we'd see you again so soon.
Well, I couldn't just sit on my ass once I heard there were battles happening all over the place.
He sounded calm and relaxed enough, but I knew he wasn't that way on the inside. I had felt depressed ever since we learned that Kondou passed away. However, I knew what I felt was nothing compared to what Hijikata must have felt.
We should be on our way, then. Our work begins at night, after all.
Heisuke nodded. They were halfway to the door when Hijikata spoke.
Oh yeah. Heisuke, you think you could tell Saito to come by?
Huh? Sure. I'll go do that right now. Hey, Hijikata, you only just got here. You really should rest tonight.
He gave Hijikata a quick grin, then turned and left. With Heisuke and Sanan gone, the room fell into a somewhat awkward silence. Hijikata hadn't told me to leave, but it seemed unlikely that he would start talking to me either. I'd opened my mouth to speak in a desperate attempt to break the silence, then the door slid open and Saito stepped in.
I heard you had business with me. Can I help you?
Without even waiting for him to sit, Hijikata began to speak.
From now on, I'll be commanding from the front line.
What? I gulped. That came out of nowhere. If we were to be fighting on the front line, the violence would be intense. Hijikata still hadn't fully healed. What happened to all the talk of, like, not losing the head of the Shinsengumi, sir? That was only a little while ago. Was he healthy enough to put himself in that kind of danger?
Do you intend to die in battle? No, I won't go out that easy. You've been out there. Only right for the chief to take that burden off you, right?
The chief heading to the front line would raise morale, that was certain, but Hijikata was the core of the Shinsengumi. If he died, then the Shinsengumi would collapse.
You raise an excellent point, sir. If you mean to take my place, however...
Dang. The air suddenly felt thick as Saito's hand fell to his sword.
I must first ask that you defeat me. If you cannot best me, then only death awaits you on the front lines.
This is why the bean is the best. Dang this boy, I love you so much. Saito?
Huh. Getting a little full of yourself without me, eh?
His mouth twisted into a grin as his sword slid from its scabbard. Hijikata, not you too! Please, stop this! You're friends! You shouldn't be fighting each other! Hijikata turned his eyes to me, and they were as cold as ice.
You. Shut up and stay out of this.
Hijikata. He wasn't going to listen to me, that much was clear. All I could do was be silent and watch. Seconds lingered as they remained unmoving. Then they both exploded into motion at the same time. Swords collided. They struggled for a moment, swords grinding until...
What?
Hijikata was thrown back to sprawl across the floor. Even only partially healed, he still had far greater strength than a human, and he wasn't the sort of person to have gone easy on Saito. Oh. No, no. Hajime, not again. Not just on your own route, huh? What happened to you? Did you die? Are you slated to die at this point in history? Oh no.
This war is not so easy that you might rush to the front line without your full strength.
Saito. After drinking the water of life, his humanity had become forfeit, and he lived his life as a fury. The red eyes, the white hair. There was no doubt that Saito was a fury. Did you drink the water of life?
Don't worry yourself with me. I made my own decision.
I didn't know what to say. The simple fact that Saito had become a fury said more about the battles he'd been fighting than words ever could.
I understand why it is that you wish to fight. That is why I cannot allow you to.
There was a calm finality to Saito's voice as he slid his sword back into its scabbard.
Perhaps you would be able to forget your pain in the midst of battle. But I can't afford to let you do that. You cannot be permitted to turn a blind eye to our problems.
Hijikata slowly put his own sword away, then stood silently looking into Saito's eyes.
Because I'm the chief now. Because you're the one who can unify the Shinsengumi.
After hearing Saito's unwavering response, Hijikata sighed.
Leave the front line to us. You, Hijikata, should remain here and plan out our strategies. Fine. The front line's yours till my wounds heal. Thank you.
He was honest when he thanked him. Then he turned to face me. Yes?
I leave Hijikata in your care. Don't let him out of your sight until he's healthy again.
Saito. Right! I nodded and gave Saito what I hoped was a reassuring smile. Sweet bean. He inclined his head to me, turned to Hijikata to bow, and then left. I quietly let out a sigh of relief. As soon as he was gone, Hijikata's face darkened and his brows drew together.
God damn it. So Saito's gotten to the point where he doesn't trust me and thinks I need you as a babysitter.
He's just worried about you. That's all. I didn't really know how effective of a babysitter I could be, but Saito had put his trust in me. I had to at least give it my best shot. I know you're anxious to get back into battle, but you need to rest, alright? He gave a bitter laugh, then suddenly stopped. Gah! He clapped a hand to his stomach in pain. Hijikata? Well, timing. He started to shake and his hair and eyes changed color again. The bloodlust had taken hold of him and he began to moan in pain. But if this continued, anyone could see him at any time. Hijikata, come into this room. I managed to carry Hijikata, writhing in pain, to the room next door, but what was I to do now? Oh, so now you can carry him when your life is not on the line with the fire. Good grief, Chizuru. All of a sudden she's like, wait, but there be neck nibbling going on, though, in my future. I can carry this boy to a private room. I got this. Hijikata, I moved toward him, and I saw in his eyes that he already understood. I tugged at my collar, loosening it like I'd done before. He bent toward me, and I felt a sharp pain on my neck. I stayed as still as I could. His hot breath panted across my neck, but as he drank it slowly, he began to calm. I felt relief wash over me. If I could take away even a little of his pain like this, then this was the right way to do it. That was so quick! Man. Eventually, he pulled back. There was pain on his face, but not from the bloodlust.
This can't go on forever.
Huh? His mouth twitched up into a sour half-smile.
You. Me. This war. Everything.
Hijikata? His eyes were distant, and he didn't even seem to hear me. I couldn't find the words to describe it, but something felt strange. Wrong. And scene just ends. Thanks for that cliffhanger. It's not like I was wondering or anything. By the time Hijikata's injuries had fully healed, it was nearly mid-August. Battle still raged across the Aizu domain, but the advantage was slowly moving to the Imperial Army. Our troops were being driven into a corner. Then one day, Shimada burst into the room gasping for breath. Oh boy.
I've got news from Otori. He said we're going to mount a counterattack in Sendai. Sendai? They're the head of the Northern Alliance.
The military and political coalition between the Mutsu, Dewa, and Echigo domains formed with the intent of fighting against the Empire of Japan. Sorry, my sock was falling off. It was led by the Sendai domain. In other words, they were allies to the Aizu, as well as the troops loyal to the former shogunate. Unfortunately, it was only a matter of time before the Aizu men on the front line fell to the Imperial Army.
What now? Aizu could fall any moment, and we're going to do that.
That's why we're doing it. Might as well bet all our men on one big counterattack instead of waiting for them to get hacked to pieces. Otori sure came up with some ballsy plan.
Excitement glittered in Hijikata's eyes. Apparently, he approved of Otori's plan. I hadn't seen Hijikata this excited in a while, and the others in the room picked up on this energy.
Our navy has already escaped Edo, and is headed north via ship.
Then I will go to Sendai first. We should establish a stronghold for when the main body of men arrives.
You? True, someone had to go first, at the very least to establish a base for the Shinsengumi. We'd also likely need to pay our respects to the leaders of the Northern Alliance. It just seems a little dangerous to have our representative be someone from the Fury Corps.
I'm from Sendai, you know. I have some connections there. I feel I am most suited to lead the advance guard. There's something else that's been bothering me as well.
Bothering you? He nodded and smiled, but it seemed that was all he'd tell me. Until his route, at least. What could be bothering him? I had a very bad feeling.
But... Sanan, you're supposed to be dead, aren't you? Seems like that could be an... issue.
A minor detail easily dealt with.
Is it?
Well, in that case, Sanan probably is the best choice. No. The Fury Corps isn't cut out for that. You still can't stand to be up during the day.
It's difficult, certainly, but not impossible. I don't see any reason to just follow behind the rest of the army, and I'd be glad to push myself for this.
I didn't doubt his ability to do what he said, but I did question the validity of his motives. I had a very bad feeling. Hijikata and Sanan stared at one another, silent.
There's, more to his message. Otori will be leading the Denshu Company to Banari Pass, in hopes of stopping the enemy advance.
A trail through which Imperial forces marched in order to reach Aizu Castle, which later distinguished it as a historical site.
I believe he means to buy time so that our allies can head towards Sendai, but...
Isn't Banari Pass the front line right now? I understand what Otori's trying to do, but I don't think it's going to be that easy to buy time.
Good point. The Imperial Army's got us beaten in almost every way. If we want Otori to come back alive, we need to send some reinforcements with him to Banari Pass.
I disagree. If we are to win at Sendai, we must arrive there at full strength, fresh and ready for battle.
So then the Aizu
Are you suggesting that we abandon the Aizu who has protected us all this time? Well, if both of us are wiped out by the Imperial Army, then there is hardly any point at all.
I was told that the Shinsengumi owed much of their survival and their successes to the Aizu domain. However, for Sanan to be victorious in Sendai, then the Shinsengumi would have to leave. All of us. It was not an easy decision to make. Hijikata was visibly disturbed at having to decide. However, it was Saito who shot a glance at everyone, seemingly having made up his mind on the matter.
I will remain with the Aizu.
What?
When we first came to Kyoto, we had no connections, but the Aizu welcomed us and protected us. Without the patronage of the Aizu domain, the Shinsengumi would never have become what it is. I wish to stand with them until the end claims us both. I will go to Banari Pass. Hijikata, please take the rest of our men to Sendai.
Saito, you...
Then I'll go prepare to depart. The early bird gets the worm, yes?
Well, bye. Before giving Hijikata a chance to reply, he stood and left the room. Heisuke didn't seem particularly happy about how things had turned out, but after a moment of furious thought, he stood up as well.
Well, I guess I'll head out with Sanan. I don't really want to let him out of my sight, you know.
Yeah. That's probably smart.
Be careful, Heisuke.
Hey, it's me!
Yes, it is. He gave me a smile and wink and then dashed out the door and after Sanan. Oh, Heisuke. That's my boy.
Shimada, I need you to go tell Otori and the...
Oh, sorry. That's Toshi. Whoops. I saw Shimada and I'm like, why is he saying his own name? He's not. Whoops.
Shimada, I need you to go tell Otori and the Aizu what we've decided. Understood, sir. I'll be off as soon as I can.
He bowed and left. Saito turned once again to face Hijikata. Whether or not he'd been waiting until the room emptied to do so, I wasn't sure.
Hijikata, please survive. No matter what happens.
What's the matter? That came from nowhere.
In the Shinsengumi, you and Kondou have laid out the path of the true samurai.
Even when they were slandered and despised by the people of Kyoto, or when the shogunate began to capitulate to the imperial army, they had never bent, never compromised what they stood for.
Our standard of truth is a banner for all true warriors. The Shinsengumi represents all samurai. We lead the way.
In every warrior's soul was honor, dedication, and loyalty. In the Shinsengumi, those values were made flesh. There could be no retreat. Saito and Hijikata looked at one another silently.
As the man who made the Shinsengumi into what it has become, it must be your duty to carry that standard.
You make it sound so easy.
Then, Hijikata gave his usual thin-lipped smile and spoke in a very peaceful manner.
I'll promise you this, though. I'll stick around till either the Shinsengumi's dead or I am.
Saito bowed.
Thank you, Chief.
He looked up and Saito eventually turned silently towards me.
I leave Hijikata in your care.
So few words, but with such great emotion behind them. Right. We'll be fine. I nodded. I'll never leave his side, or he wouldn't die even if you killed even if you killed him. Actually, that's true. I'm gonna save. Just in case. But I kinda like the sound of that last one. After all, I don't think Hijikata could die even if someone killed him. Saito's eyes widened in surprise. I've seen him on the verge of death lots of times, but he always pulls through. Don't worry about him. He'll fight with the Shinsengumi forever. So, I set my jaw and looked Saito straight in the eye. Please don't die, Saito. The battle at Banari Pass was sure to be an intense one. Many men would lose their lives. However, there's a tremendous difference between going into battle prepared to die and going into battle expecting to die.
I won't die even if I get killed. That's quite a statement, kid.
I figured you'd like that.
If you've got time to worry about me, maybe you ought to be worrying about yourself too, Saito.
He said it as a joke, but there was no mistaking the underlying sincerity. He went along with my statement after knowing my intentions.
I won't die easily either. After all, I will be fighting in the name of the Shinsengumi.
Oh, hi. He turned his eyes to me. He gave me a peaceful gaze.
Thank you for your kind gesture.
I'm never gonna see you again, am I?